Welcome back to Soundside. I'm Libby Dankman. One of television's most beloved sitcoms is ABC's mockumentary Abbott Elementary. The show takes place at an elementary school in Philadelphia, following the ups and downs of dedicated and long-suffering teachers and staff. Abbott is funny, full of life, and quirky characters, and every season has brought a few new faces. And season 4 included actor Matthew Law, who plays O'Shawn, an IT guy who has an immediate impact on the teachers and the principal. Here's his first scene in the show. In it, he's approaching a bunch of teachers as they're talking.
I'm O'Shawn.
Oh, top of the morning to you, O'Shawn. I'm O. Jacob. No, I'm just joking. It's just Jacob. just a little Irish humor for you, bloke. Sorry, I'm dumb. Wow, I can do it.
I guess we lost a ticket to provide tech support. We get backlogged sometimes, but no excuses. I'm here now.
Yeah, you really screwed the pooch on that one. So if you could just install the software and be on your way.
It'll take a few days to get everything set up, but I'll get on it now.
So Law hails from Washington. He was born in Yakima and grew up in Seattle, where he attended Greenwood Elementary and Ballard High School. And Matthew Law joins me now. Thank you so much for being on Soundside. It's great to get to chat with you.
Libby Dankman, it's an honor. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you're in LA now. You've done Abbott. You were in many seasons of the long-running Tyler Perry-produced show, The Oval, and the second season of the Peacock series based on a true story. You're also a multi-hyphenate. You're an award-winning filmmaker with your own series of shorts, True Story. So I just want to start at the beginning. I mean, why TV and movies? How did you first get interested as a kid in Seattle?
Yeah, that's been a subject of discussion recently with quite a few friends and new acquaintances in Los Angeles, because some people know the industry young. I did not. You know, in Seattle, at least speaking for myself and my circle of friends, we didn't know Hollywood or how to get to those things. We loved films. My friend Ryan and I, we would go to the local video store, Video Island, I think it was called, in Finney Ridge, before they shut down, and we would just rent films, and we were obsessed with cinema. And Ballard High School had a film program, as well as Whitman Middle School, which was no disrespect to anybody still, but a terrible school that was like falling apart. But somehow we had a very cool teacher, and these, you know, inside of these systems that were pretty dilapidated, like these individuals wanted children to have access to storytelling. So I remember seeing Rear Window when I was going to Whitman. I was like, I had to drop something off in this, and it was like this film class, you know, because this teacher, it was a cool teacher. And I remember just being frozen. Like, what is that? Like, how am I feeling this way? I remember the exact shot that it was. And then also I feel really privileged because in Seattle we had such a vivid arts community. And whether it was SIF or whether it was different small film festivals being around town, or my mom, I was raised by my mother, Moni Law, and she would have like little international film festivals at home. So I was in love with film and I was in love with storytelling. But as far as getting into it, that was, you know, that was a big mystery that just sort of has unraveled and will continue to unravel probably for the rest of my life.
So you go to Temple in Philadelphia, and you're not acting initially, like when you're getting into film, you're mostly behind the camera, and you're obviously still, you know, a behind the camera filmmaker as well. What moved you into acting? How did that start?
Yeah, acting was a secret for me. And, you know, once again, blessings to Mr. Lawrence at Ballard High School, who taught me everything about storytelling in high school. He pushed all these kids in this high school class to sort of learn the fundamentals, and I fell in love with he found grants where he could and scrapped up dollars. You know, Ballard is a public school, but somehow we had, once again, the privilege and access to certain things like a computer suite where I learned how to edit, and I learned cinematography. But I was always too shy to not. I was very outgoing as a person, but I thought I would be doing too much.
What do you mean doing too much?
Like, acting for me was a secret that only started late, even after Temple, only after I moved to Los Angeles, because I was told. So there's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy that was also sort of the limitation was also placed on me by by all my teachers, but like you're supposed to do one thing. You're supposed to choose a lane and dedicate that, and there's no way that you can be good at multiple. But I enjoyed editing, and I enjoyed cinematography, and I enjoyed writing, directing, enjoyed making things happen. And then acting though felt like it would have been egotistical for me to even dare to think that I could do that too. So honestly, Libby Dankman, it just took time, and that kind of, I think we all have a calling inside of us, and at a certain point it gets too overbearing to ignore. So, you know, once I landed in LA after leaving Temple and leaving Philadelphia, I just sort of failed forward into being here with you today.
What does it mean to be around those folks who do make it work as writers and directors and creatives, like Quinta Brunson, like seeing what she's doing, and it's like all of those maybe early comments, which I got in journalism too. I got like, hey, you got to be a producer or a reporter or a host. Like you can't do all the things. Like once you realize that there are a ton of people like who are making the things that then they also act in, like how did that kind of open up your horizons?
Yeah. I mean, you had to believe it first, you know? It was an act of madness for yourself. Quinta has always been the insanely talented person she is. And she is the best, you know, like she is everything that you would want from a creative, a collaborator, and a boss. But I can only imagine the sort of rejections and pressures and doubts that were placed on her. And I think for myself, it was definitely the thing of like currently I'm in a show that'll be coming out on Netflix next, probably, I don't know when, but probably next year. And it's my first time as a #1 on a show. So it's called Nemesis. Most of these times I feel like we have to know before anybody else does. I just felt a compulsion that felt almost like I have to take authority and ownership over this dream, and I'm going to give it everything I have. Being around somebody like Quinta is the thing of like, oh, I can see this done at its most excellent, at its most refined, and at its most open and graceful, in the sense that it's not insecure. These people who are open and can be fluid in their ownership of these different roles seem to have zero insecurity because they are so confident in the fact that they are right where they're supposed to be. And I think feeling that you're right where you're supposed to be, or like Miles Davis said, like it takes a long time to sound like yourself. I think even like to know that your voice is correct in how it's entering the world was a process, you know? So I think I just had to sort of, like I said, fall flat on my face a few times, but always say like, nah, this is it for me. Or else like, what am I doing here? You know, what am I gonna do? Like arithmetic? I'm terrible at math.
That can be your fallback.
I don't know.
Matt, like eventually you might think about that as a fallback. So I want to ask just kind of your path to the halls of Abbott Elementary. What was the process like getting the part of O'Shawn?
What I could tell you about that was like, I mean, you know, as an actor, you sort of, I mean, you mentioned that I also create, and, you know, I did this show True, which was, we completely built it from the ground up, and it basically mixed live theater with cinema, and we mixed it with a block party and local woman-owned, minority-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses, and then we connected therapeutic resources to the community. And I think just like what the question that you just asked, I had to self-invest every time. Like it takes, we got to put our energy, our money, our time on the line. And so I think the road to the halls of Abbott was, I was in such a place of financial fragility because I had given everything to this independent production.
Short film makers, like making a short film series of your own, not the path to like fame and fortune. Typically it's like a passion project.
I think it's a purpose project. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. It feels like the films were one thing. I was this is a bit of a tangent. I was dissatisfied with the films as they were and the festival circuits of just sort of being this kind of, and it was cool, but like I wanted a feeling of cohesiveness in our communities, especially at the time, you know, I made the show True, the immersive experience during the strike. And I wanted I think my friends are the most talented actors I've ever seen. I wanted to see them work. And I wanted us to have a place of healing. And I think art, there's never been a more necessary time for art. And the point of that was to marry the entertainment with the efficacy, which was to say that, like, yes, it was a passion project of mine, but there's a woman coming up to me being like, my son would still be alive if you did this last year. So that tells me that there is a crossover, and there's a necessity to the mirrors that we can hold up in this way, the agitation, the confrontation that exists in these forums. And this, I swear to God, this leads back to your question. I think after creating that, we did it 6 times. We sold it out just by word of mouth, like 400 people each time. But the metrics of what success looked like, it was really humbling, because it came down to the fact that as an artist, I felt satisfied to create and to love the journey and the process. And so as much as I was on an edge when that Abbott audition came, and I wanted it so bad, and it's tough as an actor to really want something, because you make such a process of releasing anything, because you get about, you just get rejected. I can't tell you how many times. So when something comes that you're like, oh man, I really feel like this is something for me and I can do this. Even that is a process that you have to be careful with. But I think since I was so nourished and affirmed and centered and rooted in the art that was that project of True, and the people I made it with, and the community, I was like, you know what? I have no neediness here. I'm not going to worry. I'm going to give the best thing that I can do, because most of the time we're trying to give them what they want. And I think if you look at Abbott Elementary, you see these characters in a story, in a world that Quinta and the team have dreamed up, that are so individualized and specific and true and authentic, because each of those people, whether it's the kids who are featured in the show, or whether it's the incredible leads, they all come with such rich authenticity that they're really pulling from themselves. So I just did my best to like let go of the anxieties of like, what if this is wrong, and just be like, well, what if I'm right? Like, what if I am? Because I am a geek, I am an IT guy. And even then, I had to be told, like, this is what happened. I sent in the tape. I watched it 200 times a day to be like, oh, I could have done this better. And I got a note, and it was basically like, from Quinta, she was like, Matthew, don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure you're a nerd. Like, you're into stuff, right? Like, you like, and I was like, yeah. And she was like, just give your authentic essence. So it was doubling down, because I was nerding him up a little bit. And in reality, I know Philly. I know a bunch of brothers who work in IT. Let's just come back to the ground and just like allow yourself to come through, So it was honestly one of the most incredible. It is one of the most incredible opportunities. You
don't have to force the nerd character when you're already there. Like, she saw your essence.
Yeah, I got read. I got called out. Yeah, yeah.
Well, can I ask about the kind of comedic element of this? Like, was it comedy something you always wanted to do? And what about especially sort of playing the straight man to, Janelle James and Principal Coleman's really just like over the top. She is like one of the, she's going to have a great line every time the camera's on her. You have to keep up with that and provide something for her to play off of. Like, did you guys do a chemistry read? Like, how did you know that was going to work? And was there a moment when you knew that was going to work?
I think, Janelle James is an icon, first and foremost. I think that everybody there is so smart. They make it look easy, but they're all so defined. It's playing with like, it's playing in this symphony where everybody is first chair. Like, they're so defined. So I think you come back to just the base reality of it. And I think I've been very lucky, and this even goes back to what you said before. Like, I believed, none of my friends in Seattle would tell you, but like that they wouldn't think I'm funny, because they always try to make sure they humble me at every second. But I think I am. And so I got really in love with UCB here in LA, Upright Citizens Brigade, and I studied at UCB for about 5-6 years. And I went on to their mod team last year, because basically last year, and this is what I'm saying, I think that the doubt and the boxes exist all around us, and they're constantly being placed on you, especially if you're marginalized. And so the idea that like light-skinned dude who can just do like this stuff. I was like, I love comedy. I love absurdity. I love surrealism. I love all these things. And I could do that in my art, but as an actor, so I was like, I'm gonna go for the mod team. I was on the house sketch team at UCB Franklin here in LA last year, and it was the best. I love my team, and I think that the comedy chops, to your point, always spell out that there is the voice of reason, or the the straight person scene, who's keeping it grounded, and somebody who's maybe bringing. And I think my job in Abbott is to serve whatever Ava is going on. So that moment was definitely coming in, and they wanted to make sure I wasn't too tough and wasn't too rough. And at that point, I had to make a decision as an artist of like, I have to have just as defined of an instrument coming into the scene as Chris Perfetti's, or as Janelle's, or as Quinta's, or as Tyler's, or as Lisa's. Like, I have to come in with just as much background world richness. Like, I have to have that. And I think that it came down to like, I have to affect her. And Ava is such a strong character that even if this guy is he has to have that level of passion and clarity and directness. And so it was, I constantly look at this world that's been built and just say like, man, I'm just lucky to be able to play in it,
What does it feel like to also have that sex symbol kind of role come out of this?
Huh?
Like, I know you just made face. I'm
What?
sorry to say the words.
What?
I apologize ahead of time. I mean, that's just the reality of like, you are, in the character O'Shawn.
What? Libby Dankman?
He is seen as a very attractive man. I am just simply playing my role as a journalist right now and asking you, is that fun to see the fan reaction then to you in the world and online? Is it awkward, annoying? Like how are you sort of settling into that situation where you now have like fan, edits on YouTube of you and Ava? Like what does it feel like?
I'm a human being. I am not infallible. I have an ego, and so I would be lying if I didn't tell you that it. I don't know what that did, seeing a fan cam, but I was like, I think that a box has just been checked, and I couldn't stop laughing, and I was also extremely uncomfortable. Like, I think, I mean, you can see it in me. Like I like what? Because I don't know how to.
Your shoulders hunched immediately.
It's like, I think sometimes if any actor wants attention, any human being wants attention and validation. We want love for sure, but the attention and validation can fill those spaces for some people for a certain amount of time. But this is a serious answer to I think a very fun question, but I think it's like it revealed in myself the danger. Hopefully, I think that we all face, but the danger in me that was like, yo, if I start to believe all this now, then I can also believe anything that comes out that might say anything to the opposite. Because my job is, I'm here to do my job, and I think I started to feel like, I mean, I love this art, Libby. You know what I mean? Like, I really love what we get to do, and I feel lucky and privileged to do it. And I think what I started to feel was this sort of dark gravity that was like, if I start to prioritize wanting to look good or feel good by people thinking I look good, it gets in the way of the honesty and truth of the art. And I think that is like a real sense of dizziness that I just am trying to be like, oh, yeah, thank you, but not thanks. I gotta keep that at a distance.
Where does that come from? I mean, I don't mean to sound just like, how do you stay so grounded? But it is sort of an interesting immediate reaction for you to be like more worried about basically what it means for your art. Like, where do you think that comes from in you?
I don't want to lose my job. Trying not to sleep out of the car anymore. Again, that would be a nightmare.
Did you at one point sleep out of your car?
Yeah, I mean, how many cliches can we fit in this story? But yeah, no, I think when I was crashing on couches and then ended up. I mean, that's a whole saga. But yeah, ended up getting a car. I was basically at Santa Monica College at SAMO, and I'd shower like in their little bathroom. I was trying to figure out my next step after Temple because I just sort of left unceremoniously. I think that I've been blessed to be raised by an incredible woman, my mom, Moni Law. I think that, however it was that she raised me, I think that for a long time, Libby, I think that I was like, why isn't it happening now? Like I set a timetable, like why didn't it happen at 25? Why didn't it happen here or there? And I think that I wouldn't have been ready, and how susceptible and vulnerable we all are to the trappings of our egos. I just think like now the joy and the excitement that I get off of being like, all right, like I did my best, my most honest, and I tried my hardest is so much more rewarding than being like, yeah, people thought that was hot. And I think that the real truth is just that, did I do the best that I could? And do I feel satisfied? And does my boss feel satisfied? And, did I honor sort of this promise that I've made to myself? And I think I've seen a lot of people fall victim to the image.
And it's so easy to do, especially today, like when there is that instant gratification, and that can totally influence, where you're at with different choices. What's it like to be you right now at this point in your career? Like you said, you had a timetable for yourself. I think anybody from the outside at this point would be like, wow, it's happening for him. Like he is a recurring character on the biggest sitcom on television. You, as you said, are going to be top of the call sheet on an upcoming show. What does that mean for you? Like, do you feel now finally like I can make some creative decisions that I couldn't make before? Does that open things up for you? Or does it add to the pressure of like, where do I go next and how do I make my next decisions?
I've been trying to be, and it's very, kind of like cliche Ram Dass, but I've been trying to be like exactly where I'm at right when I'm there. Like being here with you is such an honor, truthfully. And I miss my city of Seattle. And I'm going to continue to think about everything I said and think about how I didn't say it in the right way from today with you. But I think even like, that previous answer of like these sort of ideas of affection is like, my satisfaction has to be rooted in this creative pursuit. And I think that the need that we have, like, I think that Abbott is medicinal. I really think that Abbott Elementary is a medicinal show. It brings a lot of love to the world and truth and stories and laughter, which I think is medicinal in of itself. And my why and my mission of creating stories that either have to do with liberation or are medicinal in some way. True was that in a Trojan horse way, and I think that we have to Trojan horse a lot of things. But that next step is sort of me saying, this current show that I'm on, I'm counting my blessings daily that I get to work with incredible legends like Quinta Brunson and Janelle James and now Courtney Kemp, all Black women. I think that I'm trying to deepen my appreciation for each of these steps and moments, because I am, as so many of us are, vulnerable to being like, what's next? And I have my dreams, and I think our dreams continue to expand with each step too. I want to make a feature film in Seattle. I would love for us to have some sense of broadening opportunities for, I'm from Yakima, which is a very working class small town. Been called poor, to my face, that as far as that town, Yakka Vegas. I think that the film, for whatever reason, I've landed in this profession. And as acting continues to allow me this incredible journey of exploration of people and human beings and truth, as a creator, I think that's where my brain is starting to tick in the back of saying, well, what am I going to do at this time that is worth doing? What's useful? And I have the strategies for acting is so, I want to do this, I want to work with these greats, and I want to do this and that. But I think as a creator, as all of us are artists, all of us are creators. And right now, what's in the back of my head is thinking, what's going to be the most fun? I think we all need fun and laughter, but also what's going to be useful to the world right now.
Okay, when it comes to fun, I have to ask, because you've done something that I think a lot of young kids listening right now up till age 99 would have been, just floored by, which is you've actually been part of the Star Wars universe. You've put on the helmet. You were a starfighter in Ahsoka. What is that like when you actually sit in the fighter and you are like, okay, this is happening. I'm in the costume. Like, do you still have the magic when you look at that universe, or is there a little bit of like, I've seen behind the curtain and it's different for me now?
Nah. First of all, everything I said about comics goes out the window when it comes to Star Wars. That is, I will get. That is, look, the Lego, like them making a Lego of the Rebel Captain Porter, who I was able.
You're a Lego.
Yeah,
You're a freaking
They made him a
Lego.
Lego. I mean, that is, yeah, that made 7, 8, 6-year-old me. My first best friend was myself. As an only child, like. My mom, as I said, my mom raised me, so I was just kind of out with my imagination, and Star Wars was a huge part of that. Shout out, hey, I would love to go back if they're listening, but
there's going to be a season 2. All I'm saying, there's going to be a season 2.
The experience you're talking about, I think I could say specifically, is they build so much practical, and they have so many people in robotics who are there, and so they. There's the ship. I get in the cockpit and there's a droid on the back that's he's like talking to them, and you put on the helmet. And as an actor, I studied. There's a school called Last Acting School. I studied with Deshaun, who's the teacher there, who's a great teacher, as well as Kennedy Brown. And like I take it seriously. But you do all that with this material, and then you show up, and Jon Favreau's there, who I idolize, and Dave Filoni, who is the biggest. I mean, he runs most of Star Wars now because he's Mr. Star Wars. And I get in the ship, and I've studied it, and so I've really worked this material, and I do it. And Dave is just like, Matt, can you? And he's giving me notes, and I kind of, as he's talking to me, I'm like, oh, he just wants me to be in Star Wars. And I was like, I know how to do that. I've been doing that since I was 5. Like, I've been pretending to fly a ship since I was like, and that's what I did. A little too much. He was like, all right, bring it back. I was like making stuff up. He was like, all right, stop screaming at the droid, Matt. But it is so archetypical. It's so in us. This story of light and dark, and good and bad. And yeah, that was, yeah, definitely special. It has not been diminished at all by seeing behind the curtain.
You wrote a really special note, if folks are on Instagram, about, talking to your 7-year-old self about that moment. And it just struck me as just so beautiful, just saying, you never would have expected like to make it to that galaxy far, far away we used to dream about. It's like, don't worry about those kids who beat you up in school. You'll pull up on them and in your E-wing one day. Yeah. I just found that to be so beautiful. I wonder if you do that ever in your life, just as a practice of like, I mean, they say, and I know you're interested in therapy since you did your short film series kind of focused on the therapy journey. Do you ever do that? And as a practice is just sort of checking in with your inner child or your 7-year-old self?
Yeah, I do. I think when we approach these scenarios and situations with wonder and curiosity, I think that's who we're calling on. And anytime that I'm getting too hardline and analytical, I think that the sense of wonder, joy, and it's not a myth, but this kind of pure place, this old place in ourselves. We all have very old places, and it's a young place. And I think that even with doing something like right now, it's a very serious kind of cops and robbers sort of thing, and I have all my thoughts on the socioeconomic status of the world, and yet I think when we make art, we have to kind of tap in and kind of check in. They're like really that little gangster in us, and we're like, all right, like how does this feel? And it's not a left brain linear logical thing. It's just, am I making that little boy proud? Am I Am I doing everything I said I would? Am I adding new dreams to the table? Yeah, yeah. I do think that that's a pretty magical thing that we can roll our eyes at. But I invite anybody who's become cynical and to actually allow that compassion to their self, because like they're all, we didn't pop in like this, you know. Yeah.
I just have a couple of questions left. One of them is, just looking at your upcoming project, Nemesis. It's, kind of cops and robbers style,
Yeah.
noir, like a heist genre type of a project. Do you have any favorites that you go back to in that genre, like as a film nerd and as a fan? And why is it Heat? But you feel free to choose others. Sorry.
No. That's yeah. I mean, it's transcendent. You know, it's transcendent. That is a film that I watched it alone 2 weeks ago. Again, I watched at the beginning of this season that we started filming. I just watched it again, and I just talking to myself at the end. I'm just saying, oh, that's transcendent. By myself, I'm just like, oh my god,
that scene at the LAX, yeah, like on the
absolutely,
on the airstrip, yeah.
It's Michael Mann on all cylinders, and De Niro and Pacino, and it's why is it I think that it's great films are mini miracles that somehow all come together. But it had a real big effect on me too. Is this this is such a stupid cinephile thing to say, but like this 1927 film called Underworld. It's a silent film. Joseph von Sternberg. And since it's silent, there's just something about the way that these faces carry the menace and the passion and the crime that was really influential. But it's Heat. No, the answer is Heat. I can try to like how this is. Listen to this film that you never. Shut up. It's Heat.
Well, I'm gonna be now checking out a silent film, which I never would have because you're recommending it. I guess last question for you. As a Seattle audience, especially just we, as you mentioned before, with SIF and all kinds of ways. Like I feel like Seattle is really pulling for you. And pulling for all the creators that come from here. When you talk about making a film here, like in the future, like what are your hopes for the way that Seattle might, change when it comes to becoming a creative hub or bringing back the film business? Like there is a lot of stuff that I've talked to creators about the best ways to support them. Do you have any thoughts about that, about the ways that Seattle might become a place that can welcome back creatives like yourself to make projects here?
I need to be more educated on the current efforts that are being put in. I know a lot of people are working hard on the film boards, whatever the tax incentives are and the unique ways that it can favor even whether it's tribal lands or our indigenous folks, but the education and the training, it is a very blue collar job. Filmmaking is, the way that the teaching gets passed down generation to generation in some place like Los Angeles, which is why it worked and why you have experts who know how to be dolly grips or be gaffers and work with these equipments, is because there's such an infrastructure for the education. And I think that the equipment, the education, the availability, the spaces, whatever that looks like, just so that Vancouver can't keep taking it. Everybody's in Vancouver. And it's just like, dog, we can do that.
You're going to make a lot of friends in the Seattle audience with that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody films in Vancouver. And I know that green is the language they speak. I mean, there's all sorts of other things we could throw in there. But I think whatever it takes to make sense, make dollars and make sense for people to bring their productions to Seattle. I just watched 10 Things I Hate About You 2 days ago. And I was like, damn, they were all through Seattle into the South. What was that, Stadium?
Stadium High School, yeah.
Stadium, yeah. Little Hogwarts. But we have such a unique landscape to provide the people. I just think we have the best folks, especially now. I think it's hot up there right now, isn't it? Everybody gets
Yeah, I don't
10
have
points
air
nicer.
conditioning, and I have like a sheen on my face right now. I have
Soak
no
it up.
AC. Yeah.
Soak it up while you can.
I'm going to get outside right after this. Yeah.
As you should. Yeah, jump in the water. Yeah, I just really believe in us and the viability of a marketplace that whatever it looks like for folks to be able to shoot there. But I know that whether it's stage space or equipment, I need to know more about what's currently being laid down there. But
All
what
I'm saying is that in your next project, imagine the final scene between like the two characters, like the whole thing comes down to some kind of showdown like at Gasworks Park, just like the paintball scene in 10 Things I Hate About You. I mean,
great. Yeah, great kissing. Great. Listen, man. And I think we're also passionate about the city, and I don't know what it takes, but whoever those experts are that are there, just know that from this side of things, I'm also pulling for it, and definitely as I work to broaden my career, I'm hoping to bring films to Seattle.
So final question for real this time. What's next? Is it Nemesis? Is it more projects of your own? Like what are your next steps?
Everything has been Nemesis for me for the past few months. Incredible cast. Phenomenal cast. It's been demanding. It's been the most demanding project I've ever done, so I'm very excited to see how it turns out. After this, though, to your point about the short films, and maybe any artists out there can hear this too. I have a homie who I produce with, and before I was blessed to be able to do Nemesis, he was like, "We gotta do another short film. We gotta do another short film." And I just said, I'm done. I'm done doing anything that's not a feature, or going out for these projects that are at the scale and the echelon that I want to be a part of as an actor. And I was like, it's these two things or nothing. So for me, Abbott's coming up actually, and Nemesis, and whatever this, getting my pen back to the paper and creating something that maybe will be shot in Seattle. That would be a blessing.
Matthew Law, it has been an honor and so fun talking with you. We just so appreciate you, and yeah, hope we can talk again.
Right. Oh, man. I look forward to it.
Thanks for listening to Soundside. By the way, this show is only possible because listeners support us. If you are able to give right now, check out the show notes for a link to donate. And don't forget, you can listen live on KUOW 94.9 FM Seattle at noon and 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, or anytime online at KUOW.org.